The examination hall of the Galactic Institute of Xenobiology hummed with nervous energy. Eowyn sat in the front row, her datapad glowing softly as holographic creatures cycled through the projection field above the instructor's podium. Around her, students from 17 different species fidgeted, adjusted their environmental suits or clicked their mandibles in concentration. Professor Zalthor, a distinguished Velcarian with silver-scaled skin and 4 compound eyes, swept his gaze across the assembled class. Today's practical examination will test everything you've learned this semester. You will identify apex predators from various worlds, assess their threat levels, and propose containment protocols. Eowyn exchanged a glance with Elio, who sat 2 rows behind her. The human boy gave her a subtle thumbs up, his dark eyes twinkling with barely suppressed amusement. They both knew what was coming. Humans had only joined the Galactic Collective 15 standard cycles ago, and Earth's wildlife database was still being cataloged. The results had been alarming to most species. First specimen, Professor Zalthor announced, and a hologram materialized above them. The creature that appeared was massive, with 6 legs, armored plating, and venomous barbs protruding from its segmented tail. Its mandibles could clearly crush durasteel. A Threen student raised 3 of her tentacles. Korgothi Deathrender from Praxis 7, Class Omega Threat, recommend orbital bombardment for containment. Correct, the professor said, nodding approvingly. Eowyn suppressed a smile. The Threen had recommended orbital bombardment. For perspective, Earth's grizzly bears were classified as Class Delta threats by most collective species. The holograms continued. Each creature was more terrifying than the last. Bioluminescent predators from gas giants, crystalline entities that fed on radiation, swarm-minded parasites that could consume entire colonies. The non-human students answered with appropriate gravity, listing extinction-level protocols and quarantine procedures. Then the 20th hologram appeared, and Eowyn felt every human in the room tense with anticipation. The creature was small by the standards of the previous specimens, perhaps 2 meters long, with a thick coat of mottled brown and white fur. It had a broad, flat face, small rounded ears, and powerful shoulders. Its eyes were dark, almost gentle, and it sat on its haunches in a pose that seemed almost curious. The examination hall fell silent. Professor Zalthor consulted his datapad, his scales shifting to a puzzled blue hue. This specimen was discovered in Earth's northern territories. Classification is incomplete. Who can identify this creature and recommend appropriate containment protocols? The Velcarian student in the 3rd row spoke up, her voice confident. Based on the muscular structure and claw configuration, I estimate this is a Class Gamma predator, possibly higher. Recommend plasma cage containment and no direct contact under any circumstances. A Xinthian cadet added, the jaw strength appears capable of crushing bone. Those claws could penetrate standard armor. Class Beta threat minimum. I concur, chirped a Felox from the back. Any world harboring such creatures should have been quarantined. How did humans survive to achieve spaceflight? Eowyn raised her hand slowly. Professor Zalthor's eyes swiveled toward her. Yes, Cadet Eowyn. Do you have an assessment? She stood, trying to keep her expression neutral. With respect, Professor, that's fluffy. The silence that followed was absolute. I beg your pardon? Professor Zalthor's scales flickered through several colors, settling on a confused yellow. Fluffy, Eowyn repeated louder this time. Well, not that specific one, but that's a wolverine. One lived in my family's barn back in Montana for 3 winters. We called him Fluffy. He was pretty chill, actually. Elio couldn't contain himself anymore. He stood up, grinning. Oh yeah. My uncle had one that used to steal fish from his freezer. Stubborn little guy. My uncle named him Bert. The alien students stared at the humans as if they'd grown additional heads. Professor Zalthor's voice rose slightly, an unusual display of emotion for a Velcarian. You're telling me that humans coexist with these creatures? In your dwelling structures? Well, Fluffy didn't live in the barn, Eowyn clarified. He just slept there sometimes. In the winter. We left him some space behind the hay bales. A Threen student's tentacles trembled, but the analysis shows this creature can take down prey 5 times its size. Its temperament file indicates extreme aggression and territorial behavior. It's listed as one of the most ferocious predators per pound of body weight in the known galaxy. Elio shrugged. Yeah, they're pretty tough. But if you don't mess with them, they generally don't mess with you. Bert once chased off a bear that was getting too close to the garbage. A bear? The Valkyrian student looked faint. You mean those Class Delta mega predators? Black bear, Elio said dismissively. They're like oversized raccoons, honestly. Professor Zalthor sat down heavily, an unprecedented action. He scrolled through his datapad, his scales cycling through concerned purples and alarmed oranges. According to this, Earth is home to creatures called hippopotamuses, which kill more humans annually than any other large animal in Africa. Your classification? Mostly herbivorous. Keep distance. Eowyn nodded. Yeah, hippos are mean. You definitely want to stay away from those. And creatures called cassowaries that can disembowel a person with a single kick. Big birds, Eowyn confirmed. Descendants of dinosaurs. Beautiful plumage. And mosquitoes that have caused more human deaths than all wars combined. Annoying, Elio added, but you get used to them. Professor Zalthor looked up at his students, his 4 eyes reflecting something between horror and respect. Let me understand this correctly. Your species evolved on a death world so hostile that apex predators share your living spaces, megafauna roam your population centers, and microscopic organisms wage constant war against your immune systems. And your response is to give them names and coexist? Eowyn smiled. We also domesticated wolves into dogs, which we keep in our homes and let our children play with. A Xynthian student made a choking sound. And we ride Earth's prey animals for recreation. Elio added helpfully. Horses mostly. Some people ride bulls. For fun. Professor Zalthor closed his datapad with a decisive click. His scales settled into a resigned gray. Class dismissed. I need to contact the Galactic Threat Assessment Board and recommend they recalibrate Earth's danger classification. Again. As the students filed out, Eowyn heard whispers following the human cadets. They named it Fluffy. They let it sleep in their food storage area. How are they not extinct? Elio fell into step beside Eowyn and they shared a knowing grin. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy through superior technology or ancient wisdom. They'd earned their place by being the species crazy enough to look at a wolverine and think, yeah, he can crash in the barn. And somehow that made them more intimidating than any plasma weapon ever could.